Welcome to Nature's Neighbor on AM 1230 KPRL. Nature's Neighbor. We're live and local and all about living sustainably right here on the Central Coast.
Good afternoon, Central Coast. Good afternoon to everyone out there. This is your host, Melanie Blankenship, sitting in the KPRL studio with our boy Chad Stevens, ready to take your call so that we can answer any questions that pertain to food, family, farming, and home, being right here on the Central Coast. Give us a call, 238-5775, 238-KPRL. So, we had rain, and a lot of it.
Yay.
And it came, and it came, and it came, and it was very exciting. But that doesn't mean that we get to go out and start acting like we're not in a drought, but because we, made a huge dent. We got more rain in 3 days than we did in 18 months.
Yes, and I had a nice wading pool in my basement.
Oh.
But that's okay. We needed the rain.
Yeah, and I was dealing with a little bit of erosion from new plantings and that kind of thing. No damage, nothing that can't be fixed, but played in a lot of mud. As we were just talking, I was out at Twin Rivers Equestrian Center in San Miguel all weekend, back and forth between farming, business, and children. My son ran in his first rally this weekend, and his definition of it was, "Hey Mom, this is taking mud bogging to a whole new level." So he went mud bogging on a horse instead. So it was beautiful. I seen and took pictures of the most beautiful rainbow, and double rainbow actually, and how exciting to be able to have that to kind of give a little bit of a 3-day relief of thank goodness it came, because it was getting a little scary, and to not have anything. And now let's all just keep the dance up and hope it continues to come, because we need it. And let's also be very smart about how we're using it and how we're saving it. I know a lot of people that were out there getting their rainwater collection containers ready and doing all of that, but let's keep in mind where we live, okay? So standing water that doesn't have a closed seal, will get mossy and mildew and also create a good habitat for mosquitoes. So let's keep that in mind. We need to save that water. We need to preserve that water, but let's be smart about it. What I have used for years for storage water, and that has worked in all my containers that I have, is getting fresh cut pennyroyal. Pennyroyal is a mint that grows beautiful in this community, does really good in sun-to-part shade. I have plants at Nature's Touch that you can grow your own, and literally fresh cutting some mint about every 6 weeks of pennyroyal mint and putting them into your water storage. It will not affect the taste. It will not affect it's not adding a chemical to your water, but what it does by putting that pennyroyal into your storage containers is actually doesn't allow the mosquitoes to lay their eggs in that water. So let's be proactive on this too, because standing water is not necessarily a good thing when it comes to our mosquito habitat. So keep that in mind. Be good pennyroyal, and also to be able to help with the amount of pennyroyal and or how to grow it, come and see us at Nature's Touch at 225 South Main Street in beautiful downtown Templeton. So on that note, I want everybody to get their calendars out, because I want to share a date with you all very quickly. Coming up on Wednesday evening, March 13th, at Nature's Touch in downtown Templeton, we're showing another documentary. I'm trying to form a once-a-month event at the store there in Templeton, where we bring in a crew that will share documentaries with us and help us broaden our horizons on topics that are ongoing in this community, and maybe share some other information or knowledge that we don't have, or stimulate some ideas of what we can do in this community. We are going to be sharing a really short documentary called Watershed. Watershed is a really, really good, very in-depth, quick documentary. It's all about, as most the dam-dibbed and diverted rivers in the world struggle to support 30 million people at the peace agreement known as the Colorado River Impact reaches its limits, Watershed introduces some hope and some other alternatives to ways of managing the one resource that all of us must have in order to survive and live in this community. So let's gather together on March 13th. The documentary is going to start at 6 o'clock and right there inside my store at Nature's Touch, and we will share the documentary. There's also going to be another one really quick right after that called Local Food Roots, just creating some other ideas on how to grow more food more efficiently, more conservation ideas when it comes to growing food. That documentary will be shown right after the Watershed documentary at the same day, same time, 6 p.m. right there inside Nature's Touch, 225 South Main Street in beautiful downtown Templeton. Just keep in mind that every Thursday, starting at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, we offer a free seasonal community meal. You bring a container. I always say bring a bowl and bring a spoon, because no matter what we serve, you can always put it in a bowl and use a spoon to eat it. We provide a free meal right there on the teaching table right inside Nature's Touch, and it is there for anybody that wants to come and enjoy a seasonal meal. Everything is always in season and fresh, and it's our way to be able to give the community something right out of Nature's Touch. So please come and enjoy us. But that March 13th, don't forget that date. That's the day that the documentary will be shown. So,
very good. Let's see if we can get this phone caller on the air this time.
Awesome.
Good afternoon. You're our Nature's Neighbor.
Yeah, I have a kind of a dual question.
Okay.
Yeah, one would involve Swiss chard.
Okay.
Do you have it fresh there in the store?
Yes, we do. We have it harvested. We have a little bit of the plants right now still in the nursery, so if you want to grow them yourself, or you can just come inside the store and pick up a beautiful bunch of red Swiss chard. Red Swiss chard is available usually from November to about April. It is a green that thrives in cool soil, so it's the best it's going to be right now after this cool rain that we have. So come into the store and enjoy it.
Yeah, I understand there's two types of that. One's called the Russian type Swiss chard.
There's actually several different varieties of chards.
Oh.
So we stock regularly when they're available, red Swiss chard, or there's rainbow, there's green, there's a 4-hook. There's a lot of different chards that are available, but you got to remember, a chard is a family of the kale, or also known as the cabbage family. They're all Brocchius' family.
Yeah, that's good.
And so you can get, all those varieties of things this time of the year because they're in season. The Brocchius family,
yeah.
Also broccoli, cauliflower, those are all the same family.
I guess you have kale there too then.
Yeah, we have 3 different varieties of kale in stock right now. We have the Siberian, the Red Russian, and the Dino kale, or also known as a black palm tree cabbage. Yeah,
any of those come canned?
I'm sorry? Say it again?
Are any of those canned?
Nope, we do fresh. We don't have any canned kale.
Does anybody can kale?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Popeye used to eat canned spinach. Well, spinach is also a Brocchius family. It's the same. So you can can kale too.
For winter use,
Yeah, it's during this time of the year. It's really good this time of the year. So come down to Nature's Touch in Templeton, and we'll help you pick out the varieties. Also, our kitchen, we can also juice you some chard or kale as well, and we can make that fresh for you right when you walk in, and you can have it that way too.
Yeah. Now, one more question. What you were saying about water, keeping water fresh?
Yes. That's for storage water. There's a lot of people that were out because of the storm that came through. We're out doing rainwater collection.
Yeah.
And I just want to, emphasize that we can collect water and save water, but we got to be smart about it, because standing water is not necessarily the most efficient when it comes to the habitat of mosquitoes. They thrive in sitting water.
Would you recommend that for big storage tanks?
Yeah, but I'm talking to more on the smaller end, but yeah, definitely pennyroyal cannot hurt. It's not a chemical. There's no side effects. It's very efficient.
I'm talking about maybe 3,000 to 5,000 gallon tanks.
You just need a lot of pennyroyal to be able to make that work, and so I don't have that much to be able to accommodate that, but you can start growing it yourself, and it grows beautifully, so we could actually get enough for it.
Is it expensive?
No, not if you're growing it yourself. I mean, a plant right now at the store is $3, and you'll be able to harvest from that plant as well.
That's called pennyroyal?
Pennyroyal. It's a mint.
Oh.
So yes, thank you so much for the call. We appreciate your support and your continuous questions. We love questions. So to all out there, let's continue this conversation of food, family, farming, and home right here on KPRO. When we come back, we are going to talk about GMOs. We started the conversation on last week's show, and I want to continue that conversation. Welcome back to the second half of our really quick show, Nature's Neighbor, right here on KPRL 1230. Let's put the phone number out one more time, 238-5775, 238-KPRL. I am going to continue this conversation of what is a GMO and what does it stand for. And the reason for this conversation, for people that didn't hear the show last week, the USDA has just came out with their annual report of just doing studies on different markets and different, what is the consumers asking for and what is, the market going towards. And their report on GMOs was that over 90% of the Americans that were surveyed did not feel that GMOs were as important to know about as it was to know that their food was going to continue to stay cheap or more affordable.
So people are more worried about the cost of food as opposed to knowing what they're eating.
Yes, exactly. And that's what this report came out and showed. But it also, in this same report, it talks about those same people asking, do they want a label of GMOs? Do they want to know? Most of them, it was like 97% of the 90% of people that they were asked. So more than more of it. I don't know where they get their numbers from, but more than these people is they didn't even know what a GMO was. So how did they come out with the results of saying people don't want to know about GMOs, they just want to know that their food is cheaper, when more than what they've surveyed didn't even know what a GMO was, or couldn't explain it, or didn't understand that they were consuming that in their food. And so, since I asked that question and started this conversation, throughout the week I have been getting phone calls, and I thank all the people that have been listening to the show, and it was exciting to see this feedback and coming through from just that simple question. I personally have my views, but this show is not what that is about. I just would like to know, in having this conversation with my neighbors, that we're all kind of on the same understanding of exactly what a GMO is. What does GMO stand for? What is it to be labeled? Why isn't it not labeled? And I shared a quiz, a kind of a fun quiz on my Facebook pages, on Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest, as well as Nature's Neighbor Growing From Our Roots Facebook page. I shared a quiz out there that it kind of it's test your knowledge on GMOs, just to kind of give these questions out there to maybe stimulate the conversation or stimulate the education of exactly what a GMO is. So the questions are things like, what does GMO stand for? The other questions are things like, what was the first GMO crop to be sold in the supermarket in the United States? Chad, do you know that one?
I would say it was corn.
No. It was called the Flavor Saver tomato. The Flavor Saver tomato was a test crop that they used the DNA of a insect, and I'm not going to give the specifics because I'm not the scientist that created this, but they used the DNA of an insect that they genetically inserted it into a tomato that was known to draw the oxygen out of its prey. And when they did this genetically cross with the tomato, it allowed the oxygen to not stay or form in the tomato. And so what it did was allowed a longer shelf life. Since then, this Flavor Saver tomato has been recalled. The CDC recalled it, and it is supposed to be no longer on the market. But to this day, nobody knows where it is because there isn't really any labeling or follow, or I hate to say the word policing, but there isn't really any watch system on GMOs. And the way that a GMO is created, it's created in a petri dish, and there's no trace and trackabilities. All the scientific studies that are on GMOs are done by the companies that are producing them. And, you know, I just feel like with all of this that is going on and how scary it is that, you know, they're trying to do a survey on something that a majority of people don't even know what it is. And I love the lady that gave me a call, and she didn't want to be on the air, but she wanted to, you know, let me hear her side of it. And, you know, she was talking about, you know, genetically modified helps chicken breasts be larger. And some of the genetically modified organism plants help farmers not use that much water. Unfortunately, that technology is only hearsay. That is not actually out in the market. What is actually out in the market, what is really common now, like you said, Chad, corn. Corn is it's 95% of corn that is on the market in today's market is GMO. And the most popular fresh corn right now that is in our community is the BT corn. And BT corn is a corn that was the chemical of BT was genetically inserted into the DNA of the corn. So therefore, the corn itself produces the chemical BT in its ears and its seed so that the insect cannot form and the caterpillar cannot eat the corn, so we can have pretty corn. Under organic standards, we're allowed to use BT, but we're only allowed to use it when it's 85 degrees or more temperature because it breaks down and it doesn't have any residual. And so, but all of us organic farmers know you can't consume this stuff because that's where it becomes dangerous. But yet in commercial farming, you can produce a BT corn where the chemical is present at all times. But yet their studies haven't come back. The corn hasn't been on the market long enough to actually see the health effects of this corn. So are we the test dummies of this corn? I mean, and my thing is as a grower, I would just like to know where it's at, or, you know, I just want to be able to have the choice. I'm not saying that it's the way that we should have it or the way we shouldn't have it. That's not what I'm saying. I just, as a grower and as a consumer, would like to know what it is so I can make better decisions, better choices on my purchasing dollar to be able to stay away from it, because me personally would like to know that I'm able to stay away from it. So that is really important to me. We have a phone caller.
Hi, you're on Nature's Neighbor.
Hey, I got a question for Melanie. I wonder what that does to a bee or other beneficial insects when they get a hold of that nice little chemical, because they can't read and see when to, or, you know, when not to consume it.
That is exactly what we're all dealing with right now is the pollen of this corn contains the chemical in it. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm a grower myself, and what I see out in, you know, in our farm, you know, we grow heirloom varieties. I only grow biodynamically and organically. I save my own seed, and I grow that way, and that's one way that I can guarantee that I'm staying away from a GMO. But at the same time, you know, there's a lot of farmers that are talking about the destruction of bees due to chemical use as well as GMO. And so, but I'm not qualified, I don't feel, to actually, you know, give the scientific study on that. But yeah, common sense would say, you know, we know BT as to being, you have to use it with caution, but yet now it's genetically inserted, so it's producing it at all times. And as of right now on the market, you know, the big thing about GMOs, the sale of GMOs, is, you know, does GMOs actually increase yields or increase productivity? Right now, all that there is out there on the market and what's actually being grown, it's only being grown to help farmers manage insects and weeds. Like there's the Roundup Ready soybean and Roundup Ready corn. We all know out there Roundup has to be used very cautiously and safe, in safe moderations. I choose to not use it, but, it's out there. These GMO crops, you can go and spray Roundup completely over the top of all of these crops, and it doesn't kill the genetically modified, but it kills everything else. How safe is that?
It doesn't mean it's not getting into the plant. It just means it doesn't kill it.
You got it. Wow. And that's where this is where, when that report came out, is why I am so saddened by my community and by my country to not know what this is. There needs to be a lot more information given to be able to do a study like this, is how I personally feel.
Yeah, the revolving door of the lobbyists from the GMO producers or Monsanto or the chemical companies go right into Washington, pass laws, go back over to the manufacturers, and create more monsters.
There's a lot to this. Thank you so much for your phone call, and this is a big topic, and I feel that let's continue this conversation on to next week, and please share with me. Yeah, we can't take any more calls, I'm sorry, but continue this conversation on Facebook, email me. We are right there in Nature's Touch. Come with an open heart and willing to discuss. Let's figure out how we make this community better. Thank you so much and have a really good week. We will talk with you next week. Take care.